Orcas are the most successful predators in the ocean. They hunt great white sharks and flip them upside down to paralyze them. They beach themselves intentionally to grab sea lions off the sand. They've been documented teaching their calves how to kill. No animal in the ocean has a better hunting record, a more sophisticated strategy, or a higher kill rate than a pod of orcas operating at full capacity. And yet, when a mature sperm whale shows up, orcas leave. Not always. Not every time. But it happens often enough, and has been documented clearly enough, that marine biologists had to stop and ask a question that sounds almost absurd. Why is the apex predator of the ocean scared of something that eats squid? The answer involves sound, blood, and a biological weapon so extreme that we still don't fully understand how it works. And it explains why the sperm whale, an animal that looks, on the surface, like a slow and clumsy giant, is one of the most dangerous things alive in the deep ocean. Let's start with what orcas actually do when they decide to attack a sperm whale, because the strategy is revealing. Orca pods that target sperm whales don't go after adults, at least not healthy ones. What they go for are calves, juveniles, or animals that have been separated from the group. The tactic is coordinated harassment. Surround the target, prevent it from diving, wear it down over hours, and eventually separate it from any protection. The key word is hours. Orca attacks on sperm whales are not quick ambushes. They're endurance contests. Pods have been observed harassing a single sperm whale group for 6, 8, sometimes more than 10 hours before either succeeding or abandoning the attempt entirely. And the reason it takes so long is the defensive formation sperm whales use, which researchers have named the marguerite formation, after the flower it resembles from above. When a pod of orcas approaches, adult sperm whales cluster together in a tight circle, heads facing inward, tails pointing outward. The calves get pulled into the center, protected on all sides by adult bodies. Then the adults begin sweeping their flukes, their tails, outward in slow, powerful arcs. A sperm whale's fluke can span 15 feet across and is solid muscle. A full-force strike from one delivers the kind of blunt force trauma that would break bones in anything it connects with. Orcas know this, so they orbit the formation, probing for gaps, looking for a moment when the geometry breaks down. Sometimes they find it, often they don't. But here's the thing that doesn't get discussed enough. Even when orcas win, even when they successfully separate and kill a calf, adult sperm whales often survive the encounter completely unharmed, because the formation held, because the adults coordinated, because they didn't panic. That kind of behavioral discipline, maintained under hours of sustained attack from animals that are actively trying to kill members of your group, is not something you see everywhere in the ocean. It's something you see in animals with very large brains and a very long memory. Sperm whales have the largest brain of any animal that has ever lived on Earth. Not just living animals, any animal ever. A mature sperm whale brain weighs around 17 pounds. For context, a human brain weighs about 3 pounds. A bottlenose dolphin, considered one of the most intelligent marine mammals, has a brain roughly 5 times smaller than a sperm whale's. We don't fully know what they do with all of it. That's the honest answer. Sperm whale cognition is one of the least studied areas in marine biology, partly because they spend most of their lives at depths we can barely reach, and partly because studying a 20-ton animal that can dive to 3,000 feet tends to be logistically difficult. What we do know is that they have complex social structures built around matrilineal family groups, females and calves traveling together under the guidance of older females who have accumulated decades of knowledge about feeding grounds, migration routes, and threats. Sound familiar? It's structurally almost identical to elephant society, built on the same principle. Old females remember, and the group survives because of what they remember. We also know that sperm whales have regional dialects. Different populations produce different patterns of clicks, called codas, that function as identity markers. A sperm whale can distinguish a member of its own clan from a stranger by the sound they make. Clans that have different dialects don't interbreed. They're culturally distinct populations of the same species, separated not by geography but by sound. And we know that when a sperm whale in a group is injured or in distress, other members will stay with it, sometimes for days, even when staying puts them at risk. This has been documented. It is not instinct. It is a choice. None of this makes orcas afraid of sperm whales. But it explains why sperm whales are harder to kill than their body shape suggests. What actually makes orcas cautious, what has been observed to cause pods to break off attacks and retreat, is something researchers call the sperm whale's acoustic weapon. Sperm whales produce the loudest sound of any animal on Earth. The clicks they use for echolocation can reach 230 decibels at the source. To put that in context, a jet engine at close range is around 150 decibels. A gunshot is around 140. The threshold for immediate hearing damage in humans is 120. At 230 decibels, you are no longer talking about sound as something you hear. You are talking about sound as a physical force. The organ that produces this sound is the spermaceti organ, the massive structure that makes up roughly 1/3 of a sperm whale's entire body length and almost all of the distinctive square shape of its head. For centuries, whalers thought the yellowish waxy fluid inside this organ was the whale's sperm, hence the name. It's not. It's a highly specialized acoustic lens, a biological system for focusing and amplifying sound to a degree that has no equivalent in any other animal. Here's what's suspected based on the evidence. A sperm whale, at close range, can use its sonar clicks not just to locate prey but to stun it, or possibly to damage it. The mechanism is called acoustic stunning, and it's been proposed to explain how sperm whales are able to catch fast-moving deep-sea squid at depths where light doesn't exist, and pursuit swimming would be energetically unsustainable. You don't chase something you can't see in pitch darkness, you disorient it first. Whether sperm whales actively use this against orcas is debated. What's less debated is that orca pods have been observed breaking off. Attacks when individual sperm whales turn and face them directly, head-on, square forehead aimed straight at the approaching predator. The timing is consistent enough to be more than coincidence. An orca that has experienced a focused sonar burst at close range may not be mortally injured, but it would be disoriented, possibly in pain, and suddenly very aware that the thing it was hunting just turned into something that was hunting back. There's another layer to this that gets less attention than the acoustic weapon. Sperm whales are built for depths that would kill almost anything else. They routinely dive to 6,000 feet. The deepest confirmed dive on record is nearly 10,000 feet, almost 2 miles below the surface. At that depth, the pressure is roughly 300 times what it is at the surface. Their lungs compress to a fraction of their normal size. Their heart rate drops. Their blood chemistry shifts in ways we don't fully understand to allow oxygen to be rationed to only the organs that need it most. They can stay down for 90 minutes, sometimes longer. Orcas, by comparison, are shallow water hunters. They're fast, coordinated, and devastatingly effective in the upper ocean. But they don't go deep. They can't go deep, not like a sperm whale can. Their hunting strategies, their communications, their entire social architecture is built for a world of light and relatively accessible depths. When a sperm whale dives, and a threatened sperm whale will dive, the encounter is simply over. The orca cannot follow. The whale descends into a world where nothing that hunts it can reach it, and where it will spend the next hour and a half doing what it does better than any other air-breathing animal alive, hunting in total darkness, by sound alone, at pressures that would crush a submarine's hull. Orcas are intelligent enough to know this, which may be part of why, when the calculus shifts, they leave. There is one more thing that rarely gets mentioned when this topic comes up. Sperm whales, remember, not in a vague behavioral imprinting sense, In a specific, individual recognition sense, matriarchal sperm whale groups have ranges that span entire ocean basins. They return to the same feeding grounds across decades. The oldest females in a group, individuals who may be 60 or 70 years old, carry within them a map of the ocean built across a lifetime of travel. They also remember threats. There is documented evidence of sperm whales altering their behavior in response to historical whaling pressure. Populations that experienced intensive hunting became harder to approach, changed their surface patterns, and showed changes in group cohesion that persisted across generations. The behavior was culturally transmitted. Younger animals learned wariness from older ones who had survived contact with hunters. Whether sperm whales specifically remember individual orcapods, whether they share information about a particular group of predators, the way elephant matriarchs are known to identify and communicate information about specific human threats, we don't know. The research hasn't been done at sufficient scale to answer that. But the architecture for it is there. The brain size is there. The social structure is there. The cultural transmission is there. And orcas, the most strategically sophisticated hunters in the ocean, behave around sperm whales the way intelligent predators behave around something they have collectively decided isn't worth the risk. So the question isn't really why orcas are terrified of sperm whales. Fear is probably the wrong word for what orcas experience, and we can't know their subjective states anyway. The better question is, why have orcas learned across generations of accumulated experience that adult sperm whales are targets to avoid? The answer is a combination of things, none of which alone would be enough, but together make the sperm whale one of the only animals in the ocean that consistently makes orcas recalculate. A defensive formation that is geometrically sound and physically devastating. A brain capable of coordinating that formation under sustained pressure and of transmitting behavioral knowledge across generations. An acoustic system that can be turned from a hunting tool into something that functions at close range like a weapon, and the ability to simply leave, to descend into a world where nothing that threatens them can follow. Orcas are not afraid of sperm whales the way prey animals are afraid of predators. It's more specific than that. They've learned, the hard way and over time, that the cost-benefit analysis of attacking an adult sperm whale doesn't work out. The energy expenditure is too high, the risk of injury is real, and the whale can always just disappear into the deep, which is not fear exactly, but it might be the next closest thing.